Hello, welcome to another episode of Watercolor Instructions with Sunil Kalbandi. So today I'm going to do a cityscape. That's my favorite subject, but this is more of a waters and a city. So I'll add a couple of boats and a city. And one of the things I feel the best way to learn is to copy the masters. So I'm trying to loosely use a Serbian painter called Dusan Jukaric. I think I'm pronouncing it correct. I'm not 100% sure if I'm butchering his name. Dusan Jukaric. Dusan is his name. Check out his work. Fantastic. I think one of the Serbian artists really good. My other influences are Joseph Zukovic, Alvaro Castagne, to name a few. But I find the best way to practice is to just try to copy as many as possible, the masters. So in terms of setup, always try to keep the painting at an incline. So you want the water to be flowing down. So the bead or the water collects in the bottom, and then it's easy to control than if you keep it flat. So when you look at amateurs painting, there's a lot of cauliflowers, accidents which happens. It is usually due to keeping it flat. There are paintings which you want to keep it flat, but for most of the paintings, like the one I try to do, is keeping it an incline. So this is a Saunders rough quarter sheet. Obviously I have stretched and put a masking tape. I've got a John Pike palette. I've got 21 colors, and I've got a bunch of paintbrush. If you scroll to the end of the painting, I've included a couple of slides with all the pigments I use and all the brushes I use currently. If you have any other questions about my equipment or setup, don't hesitate. Just put a note in the comment section and then I will answer back. The mic I'm using is a Blue Yeti mic, and the camera is a Pixel 6 camera. So that's a basic setup. And in terms of light wise, I put in big 5K LED lights to the ceiling of the floor of the house, so that I don't have to worry about light setup. I still have a spare table lamp to just add additional light, but light wise it's very simple. It's a one camera setup, one mic, and I have a computer for my reference. And let's start. And if you're new to the channel, help me out, subscribe, makes a difference. And without further ado, I'm just looking where my pencil is. Yes. So I've a 6B pencil. So other thing, when you're drawing a boat, one of the tricks is, I'm going to do the same thing. Doesn't matter so you want to understand what the plane of the boat is. So which way you can see. So if that's the size of the boat, I tend to do 8 roughly. Yeah. So that's my center, and that's where the boat ends. And so if we can visualize, that's where the boat is. So I find it an easy way to do the boat. Okay, I'll do one more from a different angle, so that if I'm going too quick, pause it and then watch it. So that's a center. I'm going to do 8. So that's a center, and imagine that's where the boat ends, and that's where you can see that's the boat. So you got your setting panel. Well, at least this is how it's easy for me to make sure I put in a box, because this is always in the foreground and you want to make sure the boat looks correct before you attempt to do anything else at all. So obviously angles of thirds. So my main, another thing is your focal point, depending on what sort of paintings are. So you want to have your focal point either in one of those corner, golden ratio. So I'm trying to have my boat in that location. It doesn't matter if it's a landscape or a portrait. So you're trying to have your focal point in those areas. So for me, that's the focal point. I'm going to do a boat. So roughly, I'm trying to draw it as light as possible. So 8. So maybe slightly smaller. I will erase the line so that you can see what I'm left out with. So a little more keeled. That's my first boat. It's a simple perspective trick, but makes drawing a boat easy. And a bowl. Okay, so that's the first boat, and there's also another boat in the background. I'm gonna add, so I'm paying a little more attention to the boat first. The background is important, but it's not as important as the foreground. Different type of slightly skinnier, so I'm going to do 8 roughly. There you go. So if I erase that, you can see that's where the boat is. Okay, so I'm happy with the boat. Maybe a little skinnier on this side. So even though I'm going back and forth, there's no point of painting if we are not 100% satisfied with the boat. Trust me, it will come and bite you. Doesn't matter how a good technique is, it will look funny. Okay, so now I'm going to go with the horizon at the 1/3. I will add another boat. This is in the and maybe a couple of boats on the background, and I'll add a little more details. So most of the villages will have church of some sort. Add a distance marker. Okay, so that is my main drawing. Yeah, we'll see how it'll develop. Okay, so I usually pick paint from the palette, whatever the color is, a little more grayish, a little more bluish. I'm going to add a little more cerulean blue. I usually check it on the paper, see that one is okay. It's a little add a little bit of Algerian red. Yeah, that one is okay. I'm going to just dilute it a little bit. Can use a little more red. So I'm just adding water. So a little red. And I'm going to introduce a little bit of turquoise. That's a little strong. That's all right, as long as it's wet, you can control. So as long as the paper is wet, you can still manage to navigate and control. So you just start adding, and I'm going to add a little more turquoise as we get closer. A little ultramarine blue. Okay, so I just wanted to add a little more green in the foreground. Okay, also bear in mind, once it dries, it's going to be a less darker than what it actually is. Okay. Okay. Now, I think it's I will let it settle down. I'm going to just dry just the top. While it's a little wet, I'm going to just add a couple more darker clouds. let it okay. So I will let it dry or blend just for a second before I attempt to go forward. Okay, so there's a couple of giving a brush drawing. Okay, so that's enough blending. I'm going to just dry it for a second. Okay, so if you notice this is not what I wanted. So it's pulled all the colors and then it's brought, but it's a small area which I can adjust it later. So as an example, that area is not a good way to go. So I shouldn't have come back. Okay, so I'm grabbing another couple of small mops and I'm going to start working to that area. Okay, so a little bit rooftop, Algerian red, and there's lots of grays in the palette. I'm alright with it. It gives me red to gray. Always I check. I need to be a little more red. Okay. So that one is a little dark. That's alright because I can dilute it and then move that forward. I'm going to add some amount of rooftops. I'm going to switch to a little bit of ultramarine. That one is a little dark. So I'm going to just pick up a little more pigment on this area. That's too wet. I'm going to come in. Okay, I'm going to introduce a little more green. Make it a little more diluted. So slowly building. Oh, I also forgot, I wanted to add a little bit of mountain in the backdrop. so I can make it as a little bit of misty mountain by washing it. There's a little bit of fog. Okay, so that's fine. So I continue adding some drama and depth. So we are roof here. Add a little more red. Probably that was a bit too red. It's okay, again. Take that and continue with the build. Okay, so notice how I'm randomly leaving a little bit of white speck. It just adds a little more character. A little dark in different places. I will come back and then add a little bit of window and other things just to make it. Okay. There's some stuff going on in the background. Who knows what it is? And that's about it. And I'm going to slowly build the foreground here. So similar colors. We add a little more green, a little more gray. Check the color. So all the way till here. This is not the time to monkeying around, just commit to it. So that's the church. And a little more red. So I'm gonna take a little more color out of here so that there's a reflection of that boat. Okay. So I'm gonna add a little more darks. Couple of doors. So some sort of so about here maybe. So I'm slowly adding a little more character to the building. So obviously that's the light source, so we are slowly building a little more depth. And some nuances. Okay, so a little more dark where the water and the land meets. And I'm going to slowly start finishing up the boat in the front. I'm going to just use one of the neutral colors. Let me just check if the camera is working. That's working. Okay. Alright, so a little more red. Okay, so a little more shadow. This one is a little too. Okay. Okay. I'll need to come back and then do a little more touch, but I'm okay with what's there right now. Needs a few more windows. Okay. Okay, now let's work on the main boat itself. So that's the main focal point. I'm going to use a little more lavender as a neutral start, I feel it goes well with, mix it with any of the other colors. Okay, that's the first coat of lavender. I'm gonna go, don't pick any pigment, just blue. And so I'm going to leave a little bit of and okay, that's, let it work, let it dry a little bit. So a little more. I'm gonna mix a little more turquoise. Check the color, if the color is okay, and be bold. Mix too little color, a little more color. Okay. Okay, so that's the reflection of that boat. While it's drying a little bit, I'm going to tackle the boat in the back. Similar effect, I'm going to add a little bit of turquoise to the whole shell. And in this case, it's got a red. It's bleeding too fast. I'm gonna pick the color. As long as it's wet, you can still manage to adjust it. Okay, that's all right. So a little more red. A little bit of brown. Okay, and a little lighter color just to add to that shadow. Okay, so while it's drying, I think this is a good time for me to just dry a little bit and finish up that area. I'm not particularly happy. We'll see what I'm going to do, and the other area. Okay, so starting from the top, I'm going to add a little more shadow to the windows on the top. If I can pick up some pigment. Okay. Oh, let's do that. I'm going to add okay. So the boat in the front. Couple of threads. So just a little bit of color. Those two boats are okay. That one is okay. So I need to come here, add some waves. So a little bit of dry brush, a little bit of turquoise, and so continue with. I'm going to switch to a little more blending brush, a little turquoise, a little bit of red. I'm going to just come in, blend a little bit. A little more dark. Okay, so that's most of the bits I want to do. I'm going to add a couple more slides, just not a slides, the waves. And maybe a bob. That's a buoy. This boat is still bothering me a little bit. And not to mention a little more. Okay, I think the last thing I want to do is add a few more highlights. That one needs a little more highlights. The final touches. So there are a few more boats. Add a person in the boat. Okay, so a couple of highlights, and this baby can finish it. So a couple of highlights. Okay. A little more. Okay, I'm gonna unveil it. I hope you enjoyed it. That is as close as I want to get it, but always removing the masking tape is the fun bit. I will let me check the camera if this is in the frame. All right, that's in the frame. There you have it. Another Cityscape boats copied or inspired by an artist called Dusan Jukaric. He's a Serbian artist. Fantastic artist. You want to have a look. And if you haven't subscribed, help me out. Subscribe. It makes a big difference for me. Till next time, keep watercoloring and bye.